Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Merrill, and today we are sitting down with Matt Harris, the Chief Product and Strategy Officer at Viewpoint. We're going to discuss your business portfolio and projects and how you can use data to balance your risk and ensure that you are taking the right projects to accomplish your overall business goals. Hello, Matt. I'm glad you're here with us. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hey, great to see you, and thanks for inviting me here. You and I have known each other for many years now. Excited about your podcast at Frontier here, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome, yeah, it's great. You're hailing from sunny Portland, is that right?
I'm hailing from sunny Portland, yeah. One of these days we'll actually might see the sun. At this time of the year, we don't see it very often, but yeah, here in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, and I'm from sunny Salt Lake, or snowy Salt Lake, I should say.
Snowy Salt Lake, for sure, yeah.
All right, well, before we jump in the conversation today, can you give our listeners just a quick introduction about your background and your experience?
Yeah, for sure. I'm, as you mentioned, I'm the head of product and strategy and business development here at Viewpoint, and I'm responsible in general for the businesses of our products, our growth, our investments, and ensuring that we're having expansion, not just of the financial expansion of the business, but making sure we have usage and adoption of our products to the full extent possible as well. And a lot of this includes the innovation. What are we doing next, and what are we trying to improve upon? I've been at Viewpoint for I'm coming into my 10th year, so it's been a long and very interesting and really compelling journey for me, and has been extraordinarily fun as we've evolved as a business. About 2 years ago, we were now part of the Trimble portfolio of businesses, and that's been a very interesting evolution of our business as well, and are doing a lot within the Trimble ecosystem of products and businesses, and it's been very exciting. We just came through, or are coming through, I should say, a major impact to the economy in our industry and COVID. And I'm happy to say that many of our customers and more and their employees and their businesses have been doing well, and we've been focused on making sure that helping them to whatever extent we can. Our business is doing well as well, and so we're looking forward to getting out of this as quickly as possible here, and continuing on the journey that we're all on.
Yeah, it's a great background. And as you mentioned, business really does seem to be booming in most places. Construction's doing very well generally, despite the challenges of our time. But with that thought in mind, it's almost an interesting challenge to have. It's a good problem to have, but I think a lot of businesses are having a challenge deciding which projects to actually take on because they've got so much backlog. They're actually being able to be a lot more picky. So what would you advise companies to be looking at when they're deciding which particular projects to pursue in this economy?
I think the first step, and even before you can get to that question, is businesses should be finding ways to really collect a lot of information, as much information as they accurately can about their projects and about the work that they're doing. And clearly, contractors are always looking at, they estimate jobs, they bid jobs, and they obviously make progress on jobs. The ability, though, to accurately aggregate and pull in information about jobs on a regular basis, on a daily basis, on a 4-hour basis around how much labor is being consumed on a job, how productive the equipment is for those projects, how the material is being consumed. The ability to do that and collect that information in real time and near real time, and compare that, to your original bids, to your budgets, to your forecasts, is really the step one in being able to predict the future and use data to your advantage, to understand the risk in your overall project portfolio. And this is where, and things that you know very well and things that we know very well, very straightforward mobile applications that the 4 people are using on the job site, that the superintendents and project managers are doing on the job site, that are looking at how much time crews are spending in various aspects of the job, how productive the equipment is, how much material is being delivered to the job site and is being used in the project that day, comparing that back to your budget and really having a good understanding of how your actual costs are changing relative to your budgeted plans. That is extraordinarily powerful information, not only to tell people, are you ahead of plan? Are you at plan? Are you behind plan today? But it turns out you can use a lot of that information to start to predict the future as well. And I'll get into a little bit more of that prediction in a little bit later on. But I think really step one is use some of the mobile applications that are available in the market today, and make sure that not only that your people are using them to collect the information, but then you're connecting that information back to your bids, back to your estimates and budgets. And so you can really compare what you're actually doing compared to what you thought you would be doing.
Yeah, very sound advice. And there's a lot there to unpack, which is great. That's what we want to talk about today. So, something you mentioned caught my ear, so to speak. You mentioned the 4-hour mark, or a half day. Where did that come from? And is that something new? Are companies aware of that? Or what are your thoughts on the tracking by the half day, at least, it sounds like?
Well, there's nowadays, because the data collection can really be very automated. You can really get very refined inputs on how resources are being consumed and deployed on projects. Resources meaning labor, equipment, materials. And many companies that we speak with, they have morning win-loss reports, for example. They want to see, how the projects did yesterday. And so where they have to catch up, where they're ahead. Some companies call these scorecards, right? And how they did in, the week to date, or yesterday's progress, or the overall project to date. Now that data can start to be aggregated, really regularly, you can start to really partition that, into day parts, right? Into the morning day part, or the afternoon day part, or, overtime and evening as well. And you can really literally see how different crews or different components of the job are progressing more regularly. And so it's, mobile applications tied into your cost model. You can really get more refined reporting on kind of what's happening. Is the morning more productive than the afternoon, than the evenings? You can start to see that information. And that's, that's the information that's available to us today.
Yeah, I think your points are well understood by me. I guess from a statistical perspective, just grabbing a number in your mind, what percentage of your customers would you say are actively leveraging these types of tools, and maybe what percentage are still a little bit behind or way behind?
I would say that within our customer base right now, it's about 50% of our overall customer base have some form of mobile application on the job site where they're aggregating data in real time. We do have a lot of great usage data on this. We know we have 75,000 active users in our field productivity tools every month. And that's been really taking off in the past year and a half or so. And so, in fact, the fastest growing component of our portfolio right now is in mobile field productivity. It's in strong demand, and the ability to really capture data in near real time, and then compare it back to the cost model, and do this all paper free and automatically, is a very appealing need, or a very strong need from our customer base right now. And I know you guys do have some very compelling products to help make that happen. So as the ability, mobility right now and field data capture is on the minds of everybody in the industry, and it's a really strong growth platform.
Yeah, I love that. And for those that aren't yet there, it should be, right? Your competitors and the rest of the industry is utilizing those things currently.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's right now the applications are so good, and reasonably inexpensive, that the productivity gained far outweighs the costs of manual data collection that is otherwise being done through clipboards, or sometimes on the writing on 2x4s or whatever, to collect information and then having to manually enter that in, and that being maybe once a week, and inaccuracies. If you're able to collect this on a real-time basis, and not only inform executives of how they're doing against their project objectives, but also you can feed the information back to the superintendents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the things that we do is that as soon as a superintendent collects crew time, for example, we tell them right away, are they ahead of plan overall in the project budget, or are they behind plan in the project budget, right? So they can say to themselves, well, tomorrow I better be careful around how much overtime I use, or I better have a plan to get this phase finished out, right? And so we can actually inform the people who are really making decisions on how to use crews and people to make better decisions, and make decisions that'll help them hit their budget targets.
Yeah, I love the idea of that feedback loop that it sounds like you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really very, very powerful.
So obviously, paper and spreadsheets are out if this is the kind of data you want to have in the timely manner that we're talking about.
Yeah, paper spreadsheets are definitely out. Paper in particular, and what we saw last year, and I would assume many people saw it, yourselves included, is that paper as a communication means is really going away. And there's more and more demand that we're seeing in our customer base and the industry to fully digitize, get out of paper means, and really stop paper handoffs, and really start and really enable the digital handoff. And that's not only in productivity at the job site, that is in employee communications, that is in a subcontractor communications, vendor and supplier coordination. Everything is really moving towards a digital framework, and digital communications. And one of the things, obviously, with more and more people working remotely, the ability to hand off paper and do that is harder. But also,
Mm-hmm.
there's just the common sense of let's get out of paper and start to use digital means, and just makes it easier and safer for everybody too.
Yeah, I love that. And migrating off of those more rudimentary or basic tools of the past allows us to collect more what I would call passive data. There's active data, passive data. There's what are the differences between those two, and how do they come into play together?
Well, that's really interesting, and then we can start to think about, once how we collect data, and then what we do with it. So right now, as a superintendent is using our products, a mobile application to collect crew time, or equipment time, or material deliveries. There's actually a person who's doing something there, and they're using a mobile app, for example, and they're providing information to that mobile app, which is way better than doing it in through paper or other means. And that is more of an active process. Somebody's actually entering data into that application, which is then feeding the model. When you think about it, we can start to do things in a job site that will instrument the job site, and that will actually passively collect information on the job site without anybody having to do anything. So, for example, we can capture using IoT, Internet of Things, right? We can capture information on equipment that tells us, where the equipment is, and if it's in the, if it's in the job site, we know that it's, being consumed by that job, without anybody having to do anything. And we can also capture information to see if the equipment's running or not, if it's being operated or not, right? And from that information, we aggregate that and create and then get an understanding of the equipment, its use on a job, and how productive it's being on that job. And in this case, an equipment manager or a superintendent didn't do anything, right? It's just automatically happening, throughout the job. There are other things that we can do, just to see in terms of, people and labor, when they're on the job site through automatic clock in and clock outs methods, and where they're working on a job site. We can start to look at things like that. We can understand, through imaging or through other job site cameras or even drones. We can start to see where the material is on the job sites. Is the material stockpiles growing or shrinking? And all of that data is captured automatically and then fed into the model without anybody having to do any interfaces on a mobile application at all. That is in its very beginnings right now. Certainly, equipment is further along than some of the other things, and we're doing it in some ways with material as well, particularly with civil materials like aggregates and other types of things, where we're using drones and imagery to actually look at the stockpiles and the inventory levels on sites for some of the more civil materials. But that's very early on, but it's really an interesting opportunity for us all.
Yeah, you mentioned the term aggregator. So what, for the listeners, what does that mean? And then also, what value does that provide to have an aggregator?
So yeah, in the aggregation of the data, what you can start to do, and what we're working on now, is as more and more of this data becomes available, and we look at how jobs are performing in their costs relative to original bids and their budgets, right? Then we can start to actually really understand how a contractor is performing historically against all of their jobs, and actually not just the contractor, but the industry at large, right? And we can now build some models that tell us how we think the contractor will do when they bid future jobs, right? And this is where things get really interesting. So as we understand across, thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of projects, right? How much was spent on labor, how much was spent on materials, on equipment, right? We compare that with the original bids on the jobs and the estimates. We compare that with the type of job, when it was done, where it was done, right? We actually build models then that can predict, that look at the overall industry and how does the industry perform. We build models that look at how does this, one particular contractor perform relative to the industry. And we can also build models that tell a contractor, if you bid a job and it has the following elements to it, you intend to spend so much in labor, so much in equipment charges, so much in material, your original contract value is this. We can tell that contractor with an 80% probability of likelihood, we can tell that contractor how likely it will be to achieve their targeted profit outcome. And so this is where we get into some of the things you started with, Mike, around how can we help contractors better manage their portfolio and their backlog, right? So we can inform them of, bidding on this job under these circumstances will, either result in a high margin likelihood probability or a low margin probability. And, probably no surprise to us all, the end state profit margins on a project are very, very different from the original bid, right? And so we're able to actually predict that difference.
Yeah, 80%, that's a big number. And I wouldn't challenge that. I would imagine that's probably the case. One question that comes up in my mind is, how is one contractor able to leverage data from the industry or from others of their peers?
So in two ways. First, in the model that I described, and what we're doing is we're working on this with a select group of our customers now. And what this model that we've created, it compares a single company's performance on profit margins, project profit margins, to the industry at large. So they, as a company, can see in general, how do they do? Are they better than the industry? Are they worse than the industry? And then we also can use that data to help inform them on, on a project that they might be bidding on, how they perform against that project, right? And how that project is likely to perform. And so that is an example. And our customers now are using this, estimators are using it to really get kind of a help quantitatively validate some of their bids, right? Help them, get more than a gut feel around the project. Owners are using it to start to look at, is this a job that, how likely could I be to lose money on this job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And should I take it on right now? If the backlog or the opportunities for bids are pretty substantial, let's pick the right bids and, marry some low risk jobs with some high risk jobs. And so that's happening right now. And that's an example of kind of the things that we're doing. The other example of things that we're doing is that we're providing information back to our customers and just an overall industry benchmarking, right? So we can look at, what's the average, profitability of jobs like that, for the industry at large. And as I mentioned, how does that compare to a single firm? We are actually providing information on just hiring trends in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is the industry and in regions and in states, are they hiring more people than they're letting go, or are they letting go more people than they're hiring, and get an index of kind of labor trends? And that certainly affects how quickly it would be to bring new people on board, right? And what labor rates might be doing. We're providing indices on just overall backlog trends. And so are backlogs increasing? Are they decreasing by type of project? And we're providing some indications there. So we're really providing some now macroeconomic indices that our customers are using to help inform them around what's directionally happening in the industry right now. And in the era that we're in, which is there's a lot of volatility right now, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, things shut down and they came back, and right, what's next? Right, having these indices really is what we're hearing from our customers, that the indices are really super helpful.
Yeah, I'm envisioning as you're talking, lots of great information there, and it's actually astonishing to me. I mean, I come from the industry and spent a decade or more in general construction before we started our mobile data collection company 17 years ago. But it's amazing to see the transition of the industry, and that we could even be having conversations like this. I'm picturing a stock portfolio or dashboards with a ticker symbol and seeing the ups and down trends. Is that a realistic comparison that companies could enjoy today with the technologies available?
It's a very realistic comparison. Is that ultimately what we'd like to be able to do is provide an owner or a C-suite a risk profile on their projects, right? Just like an investor would have, at least a good investor would have a good understanding of a risk profile of their investments, and marry some high risk investments with some low risk investments, so you have a balanced portfolio. What we're able to do, and we're in the very early phases of this now, is really provide risk profiles of a project portfolio. High risk jobs versus low risk jobs, and ideally, a contractor would want to have a balanced approach in that. Obviously, not have an entirely high risk portfolio, because then maybe putting more of the company at risk. But you also don't want too of a low risk portfolio in a growth in possibilities of growth. And so, and that also is dependent upon the phase of the company and things like that. So we're enabling with some of this data, which is, it's very easy to get, and we built the models. We've done the data scientists, done the data science ourselves. with a very clever group of data scientists that we have both at Viewpoint and at Trimble. We're providing some very simple tools for our customer base to use.
Wow, truly incredible. And you mentioned this is a newer evolution of where things are at. So it sounds like moving forward into the next 3, 5, 10 years, decade plus, companies are going to be able to compare this historical data and trending and really make more predictive long-term decisions, not just which job do I take next, but where do we point the direction of the company as we continue to grow?
Oh yeah, the application of data science, I think, in our industry right now is only just beginning. I mentioned this, being able to predict profit margins for future jobs, looking at the industry overall and macro industry trends. We're also looking at, on individual projects, the change in costs on those projects, the change of costs in last month and the month before really tell us, how costs are going to change next month, right? And so we're building models that really help project managers look at, based upon how much I spent this month and the month before, how's that going to influence what I would expect to spend next month, right? So they give them warnings of a profit fade event before it happens. There's other really simple applications as well, very straightforward. We can use artificial intelligence now to just automatically scan invoices, pick up all the relevant information in those invoices, and then populate invoice records inside of our software for payment and approval processes. And now a lot of that is done, manually through keying. And so we can not only, provide systems that are much more accurate than keyed entry, but also, 3, 4, 5 times more faster as well, just through the application of some of the new AI techniques and methodologies.
Yeah, I often cite the statistic that 7% of everything typed is a typo of one sort or another, and there's no spell check on calculators. So when somebody fat fingers a number or adds an extra zero, there's a lot larger consequences than.
Yeah, it turns out you're exactly right. It's actually more than that. What we see is about 1/3 of manually entered data is inaccurate. And so we're measuring it in some of the machine AI techniques that we are using now have 93% accuracy, and that's getting better. Now, 93%, some people will say that doesn't sound that awesome, right? But when you compare it to, people are, manual entry right now is only accurate maybe, 2/3 of the time, 63% of the time. That's a big jump. And so that's kind of what we're trying to enable.
Yeah, and that's probably if someone's having a good day. If they're having a bad day, it might be 1/3 as accurate, right?
Right. And so, yeah. And so I imagine there's it mixes out, but
data doesn't have any emotion. So.
Yeah. And so that, and doing things like this not only makes it more productive that, we can, now, enable our customers to, instead of entering data, look at it, right? Understand it, right? Do things with it. Right. And we're trying to, really, help them, get better use out of the data, right? Acquiring the data it should be, very straightforward, and that's what we're trying to do, and enable tools like that. And then helping them use and consume the data is kind of the next wave.
Yeah, I always say with proper mobile tools in place, you can now manage data, not drama, so to speak. So.
Yeah, well said.
So what? I mean, I could tell obviously mobility is probably the newest key innovation in this whole recipe. How critical is having a solid, sound mobile strategy for construction businesses today?
I think mobility is a foundational step in just getting, job site understanding of what's happening. And otherwise said, I don't see how you do this without a strong mobility platform and environment. And so, in enabling your field leadership, superintendents, for people, project managers, whomever, right? Equipment managers, operators, even field service technicians as well, with a platform that's going to, not only inform them what needs to be done in the day today, but also help them collect information on what's happened and relay back to them how they performed that day or that half day relative to the budget model or relative to their, the forecast is absolutely critical. And the difference makers are the companies who are doing that, and giving their teams, giving their people on the ground, making it happen, the ability to be informed, not only acquire the data, but actually be informed about how they're doing on a regular basis is instrumental, right? And it's almost like, when if you're not doing that, it's like you're almost doing the project with a blindfold on, right?
Yeah.
And then we've seen it, they get the monthly reports, right? And that it's like, whoa, what happened? Right? It's that we're way off, right? What went wrong? And then they scramble and try to get into the reports and see what happened, but they're already a month behind, right? And on a 10-month job, it's that's it's hard to catch up, right? And so the difference between getting information for the right people at the right time for the right decisions and not doing that is really, it's almost like you can't imagine how to run a project if you're not doing it that way.
Yeah, I love it. And I know you mentioned earlier, it sounds like you've been at Viewpoint, now Trimble, for about 10 years now. Is that right? A decade?
Coming into my decade. Yeah.
Well, congratulations for that. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
What I recall from your background, this industry was new to you at that time. So is that right? Construction.
It definitely is right. I came out of the world where I was with a technology company. I've been in software for a good part of my career, but I came out of the world doing something very, very different in the life scientific industry. But working in construction and construction technology has just been awesome. Making an impact has really been fun.
Yeah, I could imagine. I think the industry has moved more your direction from where you came from than or met you in the middle, at least, as you've embarked on this journey from the sounds of it.
Oh yeah, it's just fun. I think we're in a unique role. You and I think we have a unique opportunity to really make an impact. What we do matters. When we do it well, we hear it, we understand it. When we don't do it well, we also hear it and understand it. And that's the nature of our industry. And it's I'm very proud to be part of such an industry, and we're earnest in our wanting to make an impact. And not obviously, help our business, but more importantly, do things important for an industry that we think could use our help. And that's, we pay a lot of attention to making a difference. And, when we do our job well, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people get paid, and bring home, put food on the table for their families. And we take that responsibility extremely seriously. And the role that we play just foundationally is very, very important to us. And I'm very, I think we're lucky to have that responsibility, and we know we have to earn it every day.
Yeah, we feel very much the same way here. It's very impactful and blesses lives when we do a good job, and it's neat to be a part of something that changes people's lives for the better.
Yeah.
So in that tenure for nearly a decade, what is or has been the most surprising thing to you, and maybe what's the thing that you've enjoyed most about this journey so far?
I think that there's a lot of talk in kind of the ecosystem at large that I'm going to say this the right way, that construction's behind. They don't
Mm-hmm.
really get technology, and it's backwards, and from a technical adoption perspective. And what's been, you know, surprising and interesting to me is it's not behind per se. It's an industry that's really based upon, proof, very tangible needs. And to the extent that, we as technology providers or anybody can solve real problems for our industry, for our customers today, there's a demand, there's a need for that. People just don't want to, be working in a blue sky environment so much, and making bets on stuff that may or may not happen, right? And so I like the practicality of the industry, and just the need to solve real problems. If we solve real problems, people will use our products and our software. So that's been kind of one really, really interesting component of it all. I think this whole, what is perhaps an overused term around digital transformation, that's live. I mean, that's happening. We've been talking about it to some extent. The adoption of cloud browser and mobile technologies to connect job sites in the field with back office and costs and the overall project environment. That's really happening in a big way very now. It's exciting to see that. And we call this next wave of the data transformation as kind of the next thing that's happening. And so I appreciate working in the industry, and then really getting very, very clear on the value that we can create, solving real problems with our products now, and then the potential to solve a whole new set of real problems with our products with data in the future. And I think it's been just a fun industry to work with.
Yeah, very exciting. So in this journey, is there one business process that you feel like you've really worked on or focused on to master that's had a larger impact than other things?
There's been a variety, I'd say. One of the things that we're very, very focused on now is a kind of new sense of, it's kind of coming up in the software industry. It's called product-led growth. And it's really making it very easy, not only for customers or buyers to acquire the software, which we try to do in some techniques that we have here at Viewpoint, but now we're looking at it more so at the individual user level, right? How can we make users come into our software as simple as possible, right? So that customers are getting value out of it, out of our software, with their users right away. How can we make sure that not only is the software easy to use, but there's real, training is very easy and simple to follow from within the software itself, that the software becomes almost self-implementing, if you will, and that we can point people, if they're trying to solve problems, we can point people to different parts of our software that will help them solve that problem, and actually give them a roadmap of different parts of our product of our software to use. What we're trying to do is here create a very simple user experience, and so think of it more than just like a customer, Joe's Civil Contracting, and now think about as the project managers at Joe's Civil Contracting, the superintendent, the HR director, the payroll clerks, right? How do we make it very simple and easy for them to adopt more of our software? What we see is that the more people, and for the way our software is used for the most part, as people adopt it, it doesn't cost our customers more, but we want our customers to get full value out of all the things that they could be using within our suite, and that's a big part of what we're focused on.
Yeah, it sounds like individual ownership by role, regardless of what position.
Yeah, individual, making sure that individual users their needs are being met, and really understanding, if we're doing that or not. And some of the things that we're doing in our products right now tell us, right? Where are things being adopted very quickly? Where are they not, right? And how can we make it, how can we make it better for users?
Love it. So what is Matt Harris's superpower, if you have one? What are you really good at personally?
I think I'm a super curious person, right? I call myself a knowledge junkie. And the reason why I think I've been at Viewpoint for 10 years is that I think there's always new frontiers to learn. And I'm really interested in learning new things, the construction industry, how we can digitize the industry, how the data applications in the industry, how we can really be led in a product-led growth framework where users are adopting our software as much as possible. And there's so many opportunities to learn the evolution of the industry overall. I think that is my strength. I get super excited when I'm learning, and our industry has lots of learning opportunities for me. And to be honest, I think that's one of my greatest strengths.
Yeah, I love that. So is there one thing that you wish you would have known when you started at Viewpoint that you now know very well and would have served you? Maybe someone else can learn from your experience?
Oh, that's a great question. I I would say to any, now when people come into our business, and we bring people in from, software industry at large, right? And obviously a lot of people with domain expertise in construction, and then other people who are just great software experience in general and great business experience. One of the things that I've learned over time is, and I referred to this previously, is that in our industry for contractors, what we do, we have to make it immediately relevant for what a contractor needs today, right? We need to define things in a highly literal way, right? Make it clear, right? If you use this, right, you will, your invoices will be, it will be entered into your system, 5 times faster, right? With far fewer errors, right? And this is a problem because you're spending so much on doing it today, right? If you use this, your superintendents will know if they're ahead of plan or behind plan, at 4 o'clock every day, right? And so we need to be very literal in defining and showing and proving that we can solve, real problems that our customers and our users are having today. And that's what I tell our team. It needs to be, really have clarity on the problems that we're solving, like literal problems that we're solving. When we do that well, we can see our products, not only our sales, but our usage of the products goes through the roof. When we miss the mark on that, people kind of scratch their head and like, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with this.
No, I love that. I think it's applicable even for our contractor companies that are listening to learn from that same advice with their field personnel, their office personnel. That clarity and simplicity of the messaging, regardless of the task, is critical for clear communication and execution.
Yeah.
Love it. So just one last thing. So if there is one takeaway from today's discussion for the listeners, what would you say to them?
If you're not using mobile applications, for your projects right now, I would absolutely positively take advantage of them. They're great products like your company's making, great products like our company's making, other products. They're cost effective right now and easy to use. And so in most cases, they are also connected to the back office. And so not only can your job site people, your superintendents and board people be capturing information really easily, but it can be connected into the back office as well. And that will just absolutely positively save time and also enable a company to begin and start to collect information as they think about the next step, which would be the data journey. How do you use that information to help you make better decisions in the future?
Fantastic. Great takeaway. Well, thank you, Matt. I've very much enjoyed our conversation today. It's fun to catch up and see you again, even if virtually for now, but appreciate you joining us.
Likewise, Mike. Great to see you again. Thank you so much for inviting me to this. And best of luck to you, business, and the family. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you to listeners for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you enjoyed the conversation that Matt and I had today or learned anything new and helpful, please give us a follow on Instagram at @workmax_ or on LinkedIn at WorkMax. And please also subscribe to the podcast. We love our 5-star ratings and reviews. When you are able to chime in and give your feedback there, it helps us to bring this valuable information and these insights to other businesses like yourself. Our goal is to help you improve your life and your business.